Hello, welcome. I'm Jared Simons, and today we're going to be making a plant-based lasagna. Why lasagna? Well, I don't know. Over this quarantine period, doing a lot of cooking at home and enjoying a lot of Sunday suppers, I've just really found lasagna to be quite comforting. I also thought of it as a pretty approachable recipe for those of you cooking at home. Something that everyone with, all levels of experience can cook. And also it's a great base recipe for you to be able to change and add or remove things you like and dislike. All right, so let's get started. We actually don't need too many ingredients. The first thing we are going to need are lasagna sheets, lasagna noodles. This is just an organic lasagna noodle, run-of-the-mill brand. You could also go with rice noodles if you wanted to be gluten-free. The recipe is pretty interchangeable. You can use these in your lasagna dry. However, I am going to parboil them simply because I want to cut that cooking time a little bit in the oven, just because I don't want to wait that long for my lasagna. We're also going to need filling. We're going to need some tomato sauce. You can use your very own tomato sauce. You could also just grab your favorite tomato sauce from the store. I have a couple different plant-based cheese. One being a mozzarella style cheese that I find melts pretty well. It's from Follow Your Heart. And then we're also going to use a almond-based ricotta from Kite Hill. If you wanted to make the classic bechamel for your lasagna that you would typically find in the recipe, you can go ahead and do that. I've omitted it here simply because it is a roux-based sauce, and being roux, it has flour. So I wanted to make this the optional gluten-free version if you wanted to go down that route. So I find the mozzarella and the ricotta together do just as well as adding a bechamel. We're also going to use some organic spinach, and I have two kinds of organic mushrooms. I have just your classic white button mushroom, as well as some king oyster. That's what I found in the store for this recipe, which is going to serve 6 people depending on your appetites. That's about 2 pounds of mushroom. Also got an eggplant we're going to throw in. Essentially, we're going to be able to make a ragu with this. If you wanted, you could omit this altogether and use your favorite plant-based protein, whether it was some sort of beef crumble to make a bolognese style sauce or a sausage. But today we're going all veggies with this lasagna. All right, so we're just going to get our lasagna sheets right into boiling water. I have salted the water. You always want to salt your pasta water. It's important to essentially layer your seasoning. So by salting your pasta water, you're essentially seasoning the lasagna noodles, which in the end will help season your whole lasagna. So while those are cooking, we're going to get to working on our mushrooms and our eggplant to get the sauce together. And then after that, the recipe actually comes together pretty quickly. All right, so got our mushrooms added to the pan, hot skillet, a little bit of vegetable oil. Cooking mushrooms, now mushrooms have a lot of moisture, so we're going to actually not try to move these around too much to get a good sear. we really want to treat the mushrooms or whatever it is your vegetable you're cooking to replace your meat. You want to cook it like meat. So we're going to essentially sear these mushrooms. Now to help with the process, I'm actually going to just put a piece of baking parchment over the top, and I'm going to weight these down with this heavier pan. The parchment's just so that my pot doesn't get dirty on the bottom, because we're going to use it in the next step. So I'm actually just going to let those cook and sear, and while we're doing that, I'm going to start to cut the eggplant. So as our mushrooms cook here, we kind of seared one side. It's going to give them a really nice meaty flavor. I'm going to start to kind of flip these over. We're also going to give them a little season with salt and pepper. All right, so as our mushrooms are just finishing up, we're going to go ahead and get started on our eggplant. So I removed the pot that was keeping pressure on our mushrooms. Over medium heat, we're going to get this eggplant cooking with a little bit of olive oil before we are going to bring the sauce together. Now, the eggplant and the mushrooms do cook down quite a bit, so don't worry if it looks like you have too much to start with. All right, so our mushrooms, nice and golden, nice and caramelized, just like a nice piece of steak. That's really going to impart a lot of meaty flavor. We'll also avoid you having soggy, watery mushrooms. We're just going to chop these up, rough chop, that we're going to add into our pot with the eggplant to bring our ragu together. Alright, so after our mushrooms and our eggplant cooked down together, I simply added the spinach to the pot. The moisture in the spinach also will help deglaze whatever bits have kind of stuck down there in the bottom. I'm going to season this again once more as we've been seasoning each component, salt and pepper. I'm also going to add some nutritional yeast at this point. If you wanted a little more acid, you could also add some red wine or white wine to glaze the pan as well with that. I did use frozen spinach simply because if you've ever steamed spinach, you know that you need about 900 bags to equal this amount. So that was just one bag of frozen spinach in there. After I add my nutritional yeast, I'm going to add the tomato sauce, bring it up to temp, and then we're ready to build the lasagna. All right, so our sauce has come together. The mushroom, eggplant, spinach marinara or ragu. We have our mozzarella style cheese, our almond ricotta, our parboiled lasagna sheets, and a casserole dish. Now we're just going to assemble and then pop in the oven and bake. And then we're ready to eat. All right, so we've layered all of our layers into the casserole. We're going to finish the last layer. I'm actually not going to put ricotta on the last layer, just some of the mozzarella. We're going to then cover it, and it's going to go into the oven for about 45-50 minutes. Now, the last 10-15 minutes of cooking, we're actually going to take the cover off and allow the top to just kind of get a little more golden and crispy. It has come out of the oven. It has rested about 10 minutes, so this will help when you cut into it. It won't be so oozing, and it's ready to go. All right, and there we go. Plant-based lasagna. Spinach, mushroom, eggplant. Perfect for a Sunday dinner with the family.